Karen Cleveland is a minister, spiritual connection specialist, and animal Reiki communicator, and draws on all three to help people live the life of their dreams through teaching financial freedom classes, self mastery classes, and her life mastery membership over the past 7 years. Karen has developed tools and methods that has been proven to work time and time again, offering tangible benefits to those who work with her. Karen is also the host of Connectedness Podcast, where she often hosts guest experts in the field of spirituality, self improvement, and connectedness. Through this experience, Karen has been able to adjust her teachings and understanding even further to benefit of her students, clients, and listeners. Karen uses engaging stories to illustrate the holistic method of setting the achievement goals that she teaches. She believes that everyone is interconnected, and by understanding these connections, we can lead happier and more fulfilling lives. Karen's practical tools and mindset coaching have helped countless clients financial freedom, overcome personal struggles, and unlock their full potential. I'm your host, Jason Medlock of the Expansion of Consciousness. Karen Cleveland is one of the special spiritual coaches out there that offers a number of really, really cool modalities, things that can help you improve your life, techniques that can help you, even get rid of depression, get rid of the fear of expanding yourself, the fear of being who you are meant to be. So without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring our special guest on tonight, Miss Karen Cleveland. Hey,
Hello, how
Karen,
are
how are
you?
you?
I'm good, thank you. A very pleasure to be here. How are
Yes,
you
yes,
doing?
yes. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm glad you're on. I know we had some scheduling changes, but we
Yep.
were able to make this thing work. And I know that you have a podcast as well, and you
Yeah.
speak to a number of people. You coach a number of people um, using modalities, using
Yes.
special, not special because we all have them. We all have this type of ability within, but using these abilities to help people enhance their lives. And I guess my first question to you is, how did you get started on the spirituality trek?
Oh yeah. It of course, as with everyone, it's evolved in quite quite different ways, but I think I kind of knew um something else was out there. There was more to life. And so I started exploring, uh asking my brothers, my sisters for some information, and because my brother was involved with
Yeah.
a New Thought church, a metaphysical church, and so I got some recommendations, and eventually I started going to this one church. But I think what really helped my my spiritual evolution, I mean, there were several factors, but when I started studying and realizing I was connected with animals and I could understand animals and their needs, that really started to spread to like the entire world. It's like, oh, if this is possible with animals, what else is possible? So I really started to become aware. And then it was more or less a matter of study and application. So there was a time I wasn't living such a happy life, and I had to learn how to use some of these tools for myself.
And don't we all learn how to use these tools for ourselves? And we start to say, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Something is changing about me. Something is different about me. And we begin to explore more. We begin to learn more. But what really caught my attention was the fact that you have the ability to communicate with animals.
Hmm.
And one of my closest, dearest friends, Mrs. Chloe Mowers, she communicates with animals as well. And I remember a story she was telling me about a client of hers who had a sick pet. And Chloe was able to communicate with this person. She was living in, I believe, New Jersey, and this client of hers was overseas.
Ah,
She was able to communicate with this pet, and the pet was had eaten something, and he just wasn't feeling well. And Chloe called the client back and gave her exactly how the pet was feeling. You
uh-huh.
talk about what it feels like to communicate with animals.
There are times, even now, so over 10 years later, I still can't believe I'm talking to an animal.
Wow.
Am I really picking up this information? And I know I am, and I know I'm providing helpful information to the people. Um, and so on the one hand, it's like, am I making this up? No, I'm not making this up. But like I said, once you know that you are receiving information, verifiable information across the world, I have talked with animals in India and Germany and Kenya, different places. So once you know that's possible, it really starts to shift what the paradigm is in your head, or what you've grown up believing is or is not possible. And I mean, it's magnificent. I'm really honored to be able to do such a thing, and I think everyone could if they wanted to.
Yes, yes, yes. You know, when you talk about the holistic approach and applying that to different things in your life, uh, how is that helpful to the average everyday person? And maybe someone is listening right now that is, looking for someone to help guide them through their career, help guide them through a troubled situation using the holistic approach. What's your
Yes.
take on that?
So I think I might have a little different take on what holistic approach to, life improvement or pursuing dreams is. What I mean by it is engaging body, mind, and soul.
Yes.
Because if we just do mindset, which is really important, but mindset can get us really far, but we might not be happy. You know,
Mm.
it might get us that job we think we want, and we get the job and we're miserable. So we really need to engage our soul. What's our purpose? What do we really want to do? Instead of why are we listening to what someone else wants us to do? And then the body. And actually, I believe the body has three really important components that it helps us with. Um, One being checking in on our emotions, and two is the energy vibration, and then also the act of getting up off the couch and moving your feet and taking some inspired action on something.
Yes. Yes. So, when you have the coaches coaching all of these different students and clients, and they're using different modalities, I guess the one thing, and even my title says mindset.
Right.
When you think about changing a person's mindset, are you? And we're going to get to your background. You're also financially strong with your background in business, and you've learned how to use these beautiful tools that you have into that particular genre.
Hmm.
But when we talk about mindset and we talk about changing a person's approach to the way they view life, do you have a certain method, or do you have a certain um, type of client that you like to work with, and how you start to build that relationship and how you begin to move them in different directions?
Well, if I understand the question, I typically work with women that have come into middle age-ish, discovering that um, their life satisfaction isn't all they thought it was going to be at this particular time, because they weren't following their dreams for so long, they weren't even in touch with them. And I often, they hear me, they come to see me, or they might be at a church I'm talking at or somewhere where I'm speaking, because they're beginning to they're beginning to seek, or trying to get more tips about spirituality. They might not know what it means exactly. They don't know how it's going to work in their life, or what it means for them to apply some kind of spiritual tools. But they, like I was, 20 years ago, they know there's something more. They just need some help finding it and applying it.
Mm.
So, it's a matter of helping them see it's possible, giving them hope, and then, just doing an assessment where they are and going from there.
You talk about facing the F words. Fear, faith, failure,
Yeah.
finances,
Yeah.
and forgiveness. Uh, can you expound on that a little bit and how you use those principles in your teachings?
Oh boy. Yeah. So, um, how we approach those things, is that, the fear, faith, forgiveness, is that what we're asking here? Because I, so personally, there's several ways to look at fear. And actually, when someone says they have a fear of something, I like to step back for a minute and ask, is it a fear that you're afraid to do it, that in that you think someone's going to say something, you think it's not, you're not worthy of it? Or is it more of a, I just don't like doing that, I really don't want to do it kind of fear? Because I think in one there's a growth opportunity, and in the other one, complacency. It's, maybe you really are in touch with what your good is, what your best assets are, and you don't want to do it. But when there's a fear, there's probably some growth
Yes.
opportunity.
Yes.
And so, for example, if the fear is, I don't want, maybe someone asked someone onto a podcast and they didn't want to go because they didn't want people to see them, excuse me, or hear them.
And that's real. I mean,
Yeah,
a person could have all the knowledge in the world, but they just have this fear that they don't want to speak in front of anyone.
exactly. Yeah. So what's the fear? So if I say to myself, I'm going to be, well, and I shouldn't use myself as an example for this one, but if the fear is, I I'm going to be on a podcast, but I'm not going to be very good. It's to look at what are the buts, or the resistance. We need to see what the story is we're telling ourselves about that particular fear. It's like, well, I'm not going to be good. Is it because you think people don't want to listen to you? Is it because you think you don't know how to talk well? You don't know how to enunciate, or you don't know? You're afraid you're going to stumble over the words. What is that fear? Because once we know that story, what is the
Yes.
story? That's where we begin to do the mind shift, or the mindset work. And even if it looks like a fact. So just a real quick example from my history is, I thought for sure I could never buy my own house as a single woman, when I was single. And the fact was, I didn't have a down payment. The fact was, I had a crappy credit score, but yet those were assumptions. And so
Right.
when I did my mindset work on those things, then then the obstacles were removed. It's like, well, true, you don't have a down payment, but I didn't need one. And same with my credit score. It's like, well, it didn't have to be as pristine as I thought it had to be. So we might think things are based in truth, and it's a fact, but it's an assumption. And assumptions and facts can change based on our minds, changing our mindset.
You know, fear with fear comes along confidence. And I got a question for you about confidence, but also what are you fearing? Where is it coming from? Is it coming from a childhood? Is it coming from a past life?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where is this fear generated from? And typically, and I practice hypnosis, and I'm also a QHHT quantum healing hypnosis technique therapist.
Okay.
So when we look at fear, there's a all spill of things that are up under it.
Oh
Typically, you're
boy.
not sleeping well.
Yeah.
Your dating life is not going well. You're slow to make decisions. So there are always different things that follow the top liner: depression, fear, anxiety. And my question is, along with that, we seem to have developed some sort of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
We feel like we can't be who we want to be. Why do
Right.
so many people struggle with the imposter syndrome?
That's a great question. Why do so many people struggle with it? I, you know, I I think it's just part of our, the makeup of us, same as you were saying with fear. I I believed it was hard to make money, and when it started getting easy to make money, that's when I started feeling like I was a fraud, you know? And I don't know if I know why, other than, there's a lot of society things that tell us if we go against the common belief, then there must be something wrong with us. I mean,
Yeah.
imposter syndrome is such a huge thing, though.
And you know, the imposter syndrome goes back to the environment you grew up in. It goes back to what you've learned or what you observed. And if you don't feel like you are worthy of this high paying job or this opportunity, and you may even have the skill level, but you feel like, not for me. This is not for me. I'm
Right.
just an imposter trying to be somebody who I'm not. And people struggle with that. I've seen it in my coaching
Yeah.
clients. I know you've seen it,
Yeah.
and it's something real. It is something real. You know, one of your speeches, um, you talk about baggage, and can you tell us a little bit about what that's about?
Baggage. As far as bringing, well, it's everything that we're bringing into our current situation, and
Yeah,
like you said, uh, the imposter probably stems from a lack of worthiness, which comes with us everywhere. But I think we all have around five major things. There's probably two common themes to everyone in the world, worthiness and maybe having to work hard. But then we also have so many individual ones, but some very strong ones that come with us, whether it's I might be stupid or I might be ugly or I might be, any of these other things that unfortunately kids get told, or whether it's school or family or, you know, teachers, if it's church, whatever it is, society, we carry all these things into, a relationship or a career, or whatever it is that we're working with. And so we need to pick through and just get rid of that stuff
yeah.
as best we can, of course.
And I guess quite fittingly, your podcast is called Rock Movers. And
Actually, mine is Connectedness
okay,
Podcast. The
okay.
connected.
Okay, okay. So also, I was reading your bio, and maybe you had that in the past or what have you. So when you look at connectedness, and the thing you're trying to do is connect people, all over, and let everybody know that we're all one. We're all connected through Source. We're all
Yes.
connected in within Christ consciousness, and how I look at relationships with maybe it be a colleague or maybe it be someone that I'm actually coaching. It's almost like, and we know this to be true, that we're coaching ourselves, that we're having
Oh, yeah.
conversations with ourselves.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just
What
just,
we're
just to have that awareness, that consciousness about yourself as you're going through your daily life, and to know that we're all connected. And how do you and just knowing that the podcast connectedness, how do you, you know how do you,
how do we do that?
mesh all of this together? How does one, you know uh grasp the understanding of what it means to be connected?
Well, so good question. And one of the ways, this is just one of the ways that I have recently discovered. So I went on safari 5, 6 years ago, and being out there on the plains with the animals was, there's no words to describe it. And I began to really feel that connectedness. So what I like to do now, just one of the ways I like to help people begin to experience connectedness, if possible, before I actually start working with them, is we go on safari. So, um, and even if they can't go on safari, I will just say going on safari is like one way to really start the process of growth, because all kinds of internal things usually come up for people because they it's just so different. And I'll get my words back about it one of these days. But to talk about connectedness for someone that hasn't experienced it like that, it's a little bit of being in the present, and anything that takes us out of the present moment doesn't break the connectedness, but it makes it feel like we're not connected. So certainly mindset issues makes it feel like we're not connected, with source, with anything around us. If we think that we are alone, that we're not good enough, then it breaks us from connecting with other people even.
So, Karen, tell me, why did you start coaching? Was it a calling? Was it something that the subconscious mind just kind of dropped in your lap?
It was,
Uh,
yeah, it was a bit of a calling. It came out of my personal struggle,
mhm.
and knowing that once I made it through the struggle, that there's a lot of people struggling and they don't have to. And it hurts as a person that picks up other feelings, it hurts to have a world of struggle around us, around me.
Yes.
So I want to help give hope and help other people know that it doesn't have to be like that.
Do you have a particular model? I know a lot of coaches, they use spirituality, and they go through the get clear on what you want. Now let's figure out the tools that you need to actually achieve it. And
Yeah.
then you go to, okay, now I'm gonna give you some reusable things and give you some repetitive things that how you can maintain it. What's your model? How do you approach these coaching and teaching sessions?
I start with, and it's usually the process of over weeks, not necessarily days, but I do start with not getting clear on what you want, but getting clear on what's not working in the life.
Yes.
And from there, you do need to define what we're going to work towards. And it might not be life changing, full transformation. It could be something small to start with. But so we do identify, based on what's not working, what we want to work on, and then identify the stories behind it. And
Mm.
I call them stories, limiting beliefs, false beliefs, whatever that is. So identifying the beliefs, and then we got to get started on the beliefs. But at the same time, we have to clear. I talk about forgiveness also being something that will keep us from, not forgiveness, but hanging on to the stuck energy, also keeps us from being in the connection of the one.
Mm.
So starting a forgiveness practice, and because there's nothing worse than thinking you are fully healed and spiritual, and then all of a sudden a song comes on a radio, or
Yeah.
someone says something that takes you right back to 20 years ago, to when you were miserable, and now you're upset at a
Yes.
person again.
And
So
I know,
so that's an
yeah.
ongoing practice.
Yeah, and I know
Yeah.
you work with a lot of women, and and fittingly so, just to help move them to a better place mentally.
Right.
So, do you have a message for women? Is there something that you would like to tell women that they don't know, or things that they can do to improve their lives, or to move themselves into a better situation mentally, physically, spiritually?
I think to move themselves, yeah, I think it's really important to identify why we're not where we want to be.
Mm.
And if if you're just down, if you're just not liking something about your life, it's important to take a look at that, because if we didn't have stuck energy, if we didn't have these stories,
Mhm.
we'd have all the dreams, we'd have achieved everything we want.
Right.
And so if we haven't achieved them, what's holding us back? And they creep in these places that we don't even realize they're there sometimes.
That's
Um,
exactly true.
yeah.
Let's
Go
do
ahead.
this. Oh no, I want to cut you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, now I don't know if I remember, but just, yeah, it's really, really important. That mindset, as you know, is so important.
Yes. So let's go to the let's check you out. There we go.
There I am.
There we
Yeah.
go. Um, what if you knew how to come to make your dreams come true?
Yeah.
Would you? I mean, would your life change? Walk us through working with Karen. What is that like, and what does the website offer?
What does the website offer? Um, so yeah, this is my dreams doula page because I help people, birth their dreams. Is why I call it the dreams doula page, because I who wants to have this unsettled dream inside them for their entire life or late into life that actually, if you don't deal with it, it's just going to keep coming back and keep causing more and more pain for not having pursued it. So, and actually, I guess I'm not, oh yeah, working with Karen. So it is a process. So as I mentioned earlier, it's not mandatory, but I do like to take, like in September, I'm taking 17 women on retreat in Kenya on safari with me to
Oh,
start the
cool.
process,
Yes. Yeah.
because we start there, and then the transformation afterwards, it feels like it comes, and I maybe it just feels like it to me, but it feels like they're in a better place for growth afterwards. So identifying the dreams from that point, sometimes the travel helps establish or solidify what a dream was. Like, okay, that's not my dream, but now I remember what some of my dreams were, and I wanted to start, a an organization, a nonprofit to help this kind of people or something like that. So these dreams, they kind of, as the people talk, as the women talk, and as we are experiencing the vastness of the Masai Mara and the animals and the connectedness, it all starts anyhow. So we do that when possible. It's again, it's not a mandatory first step, but then going through the process, the first assignment is actually forgiveness.
Mm.
So releasing energy is going to be the first assignment, and then it's going to be um, developing the stories. What are the stories we're going to work on first? It's going to be making sure our soul is aligned with it. So that's part of the process. Is this truly something I want? Is it something I think my spouse wants? Is it something my kids want, or my parents want? So making sure your soul is aligned with it. So we go through a process for that, and then um, learning how to read the body and understand the body. So if we're feeling something in our gut, or in our throat, or what's a good sign, what's not a good sign, as we're looking, as we start the process and start moving one way or the other, what's our body telling us? Are we moving the correct way to help achieve these dreams?
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, go to Karen Cleveland's website, RevKarenCleveland.com.
Yeah.
She specializes in helping women. Men, you're welcome too. I'm sure Karen doesn't turn down
Yeah.
men either, but
No, that's great.
yeah, uh, change your life. Learn different things, learn different techniques that will allow you to move to the next level, will allow you to maybe dump that imposter syndrome, maybe dump the fear that Karen was able to dump early in her life. So www.revkarencleveland.com. Make sure
Yeah.
you check her out. And I didn't want to interrupt you, Karen, but I want to make sure that the audience was able to,
No
see that.
worries. That's fine. That's
Exactly.
fine.
So when you talk about um, uh, recognizing what your spirit is saying to you,
Mm.
recognizing what your body is saying to you, And a lot of people just can, us as coaches and spiritual leaders, we say these things, but only a handful of us tell the audience or tell that person exactly how to do that. How do you recognize what your body is telling you, other than, oh, my knee is hurting, I feel my knee hurting? Of course
Yeah.
we get that message, but how do you quieten yourself to listen to the true messages that your spirit is saying to you, your subconscious mind, when your body talks to you? What's that process like?
I have probably somewhere between 5 and 10 different processes that I have people try out, because sitting in meditation doesn't work for everyone, you know.
Yes, yes.
So it might be a journaling process,
Mm.
and it might be a painting process. And if I'm working with a writer, someone that writes a lot, I tell them, okay, you need to access a different part of your brain and body because you write anyway. So paint or work with your hands in a different way to see what information comes out while you're doing that. And it's not necessarily what you create, but it's what's going on mentally, or what you're hearing, I guess I should say, as you're working with the other substance or the other thing. And if someone's a painter, I say, okay, you need to start writing just for a little bit. Just, maybe I just forgot what it's called, automatic writing, where you don't take your pen off the paper, you just write, write, write. And eventually, spirit's going to come through and tell you something. Start with a prompt. So that's a couple of methods. Most certainly, meditating, and if it's an option for the person. But even if there's like a way to focus, like being outside, I mean, nature is big for me, but with a soft focus on something, on a water running, on a waterfall, on a mountain, and being aware. So this is what I also have to tell my animal communication students, is that we might think information, what we're thinking, we might think it's our thought. We might think we are just making up all this stuff,
Absolutely.
and we're not. So taking note, what color came up, what smell came up, what concept came up, and especially when you're feeling like outside of yourself a little bit, like you are really entranced in something. So paying attention.
I can give my own spin on that too. And it's everything that you said. But when you're trying to, I'm a remote viewer also.
Okay.
So when I use remote viewing, I have to, go into a 10-minute meditation. But when I come out of it and I start to try to figure out this unknown object, or I start to try to predict this future event using associate remote viewing, I quieten my thoughts and I try to listen to the first low lining piece of information.
Hmm.
Typically, that's the subconscious mind, that's the higher self speaking to you, the body or what have you speaking to you. But almost a second, after a second and a half, no more than 1.7 seconds, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, your conscious mind takes over, and your conscious mind is actually answering or giving you the way you should feel.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
tell my clients that as soon as you come out of this wonderful relaxation, whether it be meditation, whether it be, like you said, in the wilderness or by the ocean, just relaxing. And when you start to really, really be in yourself, it's the first droplets of information you get. And that's how you can, receive the messages. And
Hmm.
it's so simple, but it's not, because you
Right.
have to practice over and over and
Yes.
over being quiet and still inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, yeah, it takes people a while to get there sometimes, to be quiet and still.
And to separate the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, who's talking to me?
Right.
you know.
Yeah, and that's actually another good exercise though, is to pay attention, to sit and pay attention. Am I asking the question? Am I the observer? Am I the listener? Who is this? So yeah,
Wow, it's
certainly.
fascinating. It's fascinating to realize that I am, and but not only that, to realize that I'm conscious, and consciousness is just it's more than just me knowing that I am, but it's me knowing everything from the taste of a glass of water, from
Hmm.
the way a butterfly looks, and the way cornbread smells, and it's just all these things, these heightened levels of awareness. And I'm sure, just like you and myself and many other spiritual advisors out there, we are constantly trying to fine tune that and trying to
Right.
tune our senses: taste,
Yeah.
touch, smell, sight. And those are all the ingredients that psychics use to locate missing children, to maybe piece together a tragic event. Uh,
Right.
it's those senses that God has given all of us,
Hmm.
those senses that we have. But Karen, this world is so um, tough.
Yeah.
In the way we're raised, our emotions are suppressed,
Oh,
and
yes.
we're not able to naturally feel the senses that we naturally have, because we're all naturally psychic.
Right.
We're not able to
Right.
feel that. What's your take on all of that?
Yeah, well, that would be great if we could tell everyone to get in touch with their body. And I'm a huge advocate of actually asking, if I have an ache somewhere, asking it, what are you trying to tell me? And I know everyone doesn't have that luxury because they don't know to, or they feel like they don't get an answer. Um, but yeah, I think that's why I'm here talking, and you probably are out there talking, is to help raise the awareness that people can have a different idea of their life and what their emotions are. I mean, I'll be honest, until I heard someone talking about emotions and in the body, which was not seemingly not that long ago, considering how old I am. um, I had no idea what the emotions meant in my body. No idea. It wasn't until I heard someone talking. And it is the kind of thing, it's like, why didn't someone tell me this a long time ago? you know,
Mm,
this should be taught in schools,
right.
you know? Um, I don't know how to spread the word anymore to help people, but it would be great to help kids begin to understand why they have a stomach ache before they want to, and they don't want to go to school to take a test, you
Mm,
know?
wow. It's a lot of fascinating things out there about the human psyche, about our habits, in the way we change. How do we get better? How do we grow
Mm,
a even more powerful mindset? And I believe it's through habits. I believe it's incremental changes in the way you approach things, and you have to build new habits. And a lot of people ask, so how long will it take? Well, it will take as long as you're able to uh, change the way that you think about what success looks like, or change
right.
the way what you think about um, what a good parent looks like, or what a good businessman looks like. So I get those questions all the time, and it's just fascinating that we do have this ability. We do have these tools that are out here to help us, and we have everything we need within us. Um, it just takes people like you to push those buttons and help people get to where they want to be.
Yeah.
We're pushing up on our time limit, but I want you to, if there's anything else that you would like to say to the audience, maybe you're offering something for
Yeah.
gift. Maybe you have a conference coming up, or coaching. Uh, just leave the audience with a last word so that they can understand where to find you,
Sure.
and how to connect.
Sure. I do actually have a free gift on my website. It's 7 short and simple spiritual practices that will change your life. I think that's what it's called, but it's at Rev Karen Cleveland /gift.
Okay.
And it's for the people that, I can't sit down and meditate. What else can I do? How do I start to get in the
Good.
motion?
Good
So,
stuff. All right.
yeah.
Well, good. I'm going to move you to the back office, and I'm going to close it out, and I'll talk to you when we get back there. But it was great. It was a
All
great
right.
conversation,
Thank you so
a very
much.
smooth conversation, and I hope that the audience really gets a lot out of it. And make sure to go and visit Rev Karen Cleveland and look at some of the things that she offers,
Yeah,
and you'll find that maybe something fits you. And one size doesn't fit everybody, but it does fit some people.
that's right.
That's right. Okay, we're gonna move you to the back, and I'll come back in a second. Great conversation with Karen. Just a beautiful spirit, very calm, very calculated. Sometimes when you're doing a show, uh, you don't have to be the loudest voice or the most excited person. Sometimes the messages come to you in very, very subtle ways, very small packages of information. And tonight we had a beautiful soul, a beautiful spirit, just sharing information, sharing techniques, ways to overcome fear, ways to change your mindset, things you can do to overcome the imposter syndrome. And we talked about what that was. But we've come to an end, and I'm excited about this show. I'm excited about the people that we bring on to benefit who? You, to benefit you. Everything that we talk about, everything that we impress upon you is to allow you to live the life that you want to live, the life that you deserve to live, all by changing your mindset, all about realizing I am, all about understanding that it's about the expansion of consciousness. Thank you for being with us tonight. I'm Jason Medlock, and we really appreciate it. And we'll see you the next time. Until then, goodbye.